Hello, everybody, and welcome to DC Time. I'm Dean.
I'm Chris.
Thanks for joining us again. We're glad to get together. I'm going to start right here in Colossians chapter 3, read a few verses, and we're going to see where the show goes. All right, this is Colossians chapter 3. If then you arouse together with Christ, be seeking that which is above, where Christ is, sitting at the right hand of God. Be disposed to that which is above, not to that on the earth, for you died, and your life is hid together with Christ in God. Whenever Christ, our life, should be manifested, then you also shall be manifested together with him in glory. So Chris and I is having a good conversation again here this morning, and we're very thankful to be reading scriptures here from Paul and to see what he's telling us to do here, seeking that which is above. That's a good place to be. Anytime things of this world, all the distraction, we've been talking a lot about it, that you deal with all day long, every day, it's just bombarded. We're in this world system. Anytime you can get outside of that realm, leave things go a little bit, or something, it's like, okay, it's not even as important anymore. You're thinking about Christ and about things above. Great place to be. All right, I'm going to skip ahead here, and this goes back to what we've been talking about, teachers or things like that in the last couple of shows we did. So here later in Colossians 3, I'll pick up here just in verse 14. Now over all these put on love, which is the tie of maturity, and let the peace of Christ be arbitrating in your hearts, for which you were called also in one body, and become thankful. Let the word of Christ be making its home in you richly in all wisdom, teaching and admonishing yourselves. It says in psalms and hymns, spiritual songs, singing with grace in your hearts to God. So I like that.
Teaching ourselves.
Yeah, I really like this about the peace of Christ be arbitrary in your hearts. Let the word of Christ be making its home in you, teaching and admonishing yourselves. That's
cool.
Yeah, I really like that. Just coming off the last week's show, talking about how Christ is our head.
Yep.
How that's ultimately where we learn.
And he's left us with this page. That's where we're going to confirm these things.
Right. So God the Father loves us. He loves you. He's got you on a journey. You're not wrong on where you're at.
Right.
On your journey. That is big, I think, for me, because that's how we look at everybody. I look at that I'm wrong, that you're wrong, if you don't believe something the way I see it, things like that. And it's like, wait a minute. Everybody is right where they're supposed to be. We say it all the time, but do we really believe it?
Yeah.
Yeah, do you really believe it? Do you believe it about yourselves? And you can give yourself a break. Because there's so much weighing on us every day. There's so many layers of error and flaws and all that, and we can get tripped up into thinking that's what defines us and that's what defines other people. Instead of seeing God of love, the Spirit of Christ, that he loves his creation, he's got everybody right where they're supposed to be. So in that respect, in that regard, even though everything can be wrong in the system, those individual lives, us too, you're not wrong where God has you. I don't know, that could be a hard one to take because we see everything in wrong and right? Like,
right,
obviously,
exactly.
I'm wrong daily. Yeah, I make mistakes and then I'm wrong about something, or I was certainly
all the time
in error, and look at myself now that, man, I was wrong when I believed that God was going to send most of his creation to this eternal torture system.
Yeah.
I was wrong in that belief. I can say that. So there was, I was error, but just following that out, God, that's where God had me at the time.
Yeah, I want to confirm he does make lots of mistakes.
There you go. Get me back on track here. Not sure where I was going there.
No, I appreciate what you're saying.
There's just a different realm.
Yeah, there's
different view. There's a different view.
Yeah, and I think we've encouraged one another to be open to all of that stuff and to be conscious of everything we're up against.
Yeah, that's what we've been
You know, the things
discussing
that,
today. Right.
you know, you and I don't believe
Yeah.
in human free will. We think that man is influenced internally and externally. And we've even recently been talking about, you know, the scripture, I think it's in Ephesians, we don't wrestle with flesh and blood. And I recently watched 2 videos by Stephen Hill that were really, really cool about these authorities and lordships and principalities and all these things. The emphasis that they have. We know that Satan has jurisdiction over the air right now in this eon. You know, and he's doing his bidding. He's allowed to do his bidding right now. That's the relative sense. In the absolute, Father's the one who's allowing that operation to go on right now.
Yeah,
and it's purposeful.
Yeah, he designed the whole
thing.
Plan. Yeah, the whole script is designed by
right.
God.
And we were talking about how difficult it is for many of our family and friends to get to a place where we say God is ultimately is responsible for evil.
Yeah, and we don't say that lightly either.
No,
we were
not.
talking about that earlier. Of course, there's things that, it's almost hard to talk about in certain circumstances.
Right. You can be dealing with someone who's going through some very difficult things, and they're leaning on their understanding of who Father is, and then you come along and say, well, he's responsible for that. They may not receive that in the best possible way, you know. And you and I just talked about this upstairs. If evil, tragedy is visited upon us, we fully expect to go through all the human emotion, maybe be mad at Father.
Yeah, we'd be crushed, you know.
We would be crushed.
Right. That's what
and we
happens.
Look at Father and say, I don't understand this. It doesn't make sense. You've torn my heart out. You know, that's going to be tough. But Father has also brought us to the place where we have peace, understanding that he's operating a plan, and that it's Father who's in control. It's all about the sovereignty message. You and I have also been talking. Mike Owens recently at a conference shared his story about a tornado which obliterated his house. I don't remember how many years ago this was, but his son was 14 years old and his son was killed. And it's a great video, and it is a man learning to trust in the sovereignty of Father in the face of incredible pain, agony, grief. It's a very moving video. And I'm grateful to Mr. Owens for sharing that, because it was really confirmation to me about the things I believe about the sovereignty of Father. You said you were in your Colossians, you were reading there where Christ is at the right hand of God. I can't remember, it was probably one of the conferences. The little boy came home from Sunday school and said, somebody's parent said, what did you learn today in Sunday school? And he said, I learned that God is left-handed. And the parent said, left-handed? How did you come to that conclusion? He said, well, Jesus is sitting on the right hand.
Yeah.
I thought that was cute. Our levity for today. Also, I wanted to share that, and I don't, sometimes you get something distracts you. Maybe maybe even Father has got me looking at Ephesians 1 and 2. Okay, I've been looking at it and looking at it and looking at it, and I'm trying to find a place in there where the believer has anything to do. So I would challenge anybody who's tuned in today, challenge you for, let's say, the next 5 days. You just read, it won't take you but 2-3 minutes. Read chapters 1 and 2 of Ephesians. Be sensitive in your mind and your thought and your ears, listening to what Paul is sharing here. What part are you doing in any of this operation. It is unbelievable. The language, your salvation, which has been procured for you, the grace which he is lavishing on us. I think twice he's doing all these things for the delight of his will on our behalf. It is crazy. I just started writing them down. Then I stopped writing them down because I was writing practically every scripture down.
All right.
Blesses us, chooses us, designates us beforehand, graces us in the beloved, having the deliverance through his blood. Just a constant barrage of everything that's being done to us, for us, and on our behalf. And I found one place where it said something about on us believing. And I thought, okay, that's not even active on our part because our faith has been given to us in measure. So just for I've been doing this quite a bit, 1 and 2, just reading it over and over and over again.
Right.
The funny thing I told Dean is my family, we're very political. We have always been very political. We're always aware of the political scene that's going on in our country and so forth. It's how I was raised. And so we've always been that way. And what I've learned through Father and this journey is how distracting politics is. And the politics of our country can be incredibly distracting. And so I'm typically up on all of this, And I told Dean last night, my phone went off, a text message went off, and I picked it up, and Beth and I were already in bed, and we were watching a show, or we had just turned the show off and getting ready to go to sleep. So I'm looking, it's 9:30, 9:45. I'm looking at it. And it's a nephew who is asking the question. There's about 5 of us, nephews and uncles and brothers on this text. Should I be concerned about what's going on in Iran and Israel right now? I had no clue what he was talking about. Nothing. I wasn't concerned about it because as soon as I read it, I thought, what is he talking about? Nothing. No concern. I had to then go to the app on my phone that's about news, hit on that, and then I began reading all this stuff where Iran has been threatening some sort of response to Israel and the war with Hamas and all this stuff. And I didn't respond to the text or anything. I just put the phone down, and in my mind I thought, wow, I have been concerning myself with things above. Mm-hmm. Ephesians 1 and 2 has kind of pushed out some of the distractions. And I've had, to some degree, a spirit of peace and just wonderment at all this language, everything that's being done for us. To the point, a person who's typically has my finger on the pulse of what's going on politically. And that was pushed out. I didn't know what they were talking about. And it was pretty good.
Yeah.
It was pretty nice.
And that's a good, to me, a good way to picture whatever it is that concerns you. Mm-hmm. Whatever it is. Yes. So that's one example. And that could be like, man, that's huge. Well, you look at, there's how many people in the world, all right? And what about all their individual concerns and their governments, their family, their structure, everything? There's going to be something. Something's going to take your concern, and man, I need to be concerned about that. Of course, you're going to be concerned about it, no matter what it is. If it's, like I said, if you got family in a particular region that's at war or something, might be, hey, I got family on the front lines there. You would probably take more interest in something. Or, so anyway, there's 1,000 different ways to look upon your individual concerns. What I love about what Chris is saying about how all these things can be distractions, they can get pushed to their proper place of concern, mm-hmm. and know that it's all right, no matter what's going on, all the horrors of the world, all the error that's going on, it's okay. And you can be at peace with some of the tragic things that's going on. It's a great place to to get to. It's a great place to be. We can be thankful when we're there, just in those moments at times, because we're so distracted all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's nice to be, to be thinking of things above, reading these letters Paul wrote a long time ago.
Yeah.
You see where he was at. I mean, especially in his life, what he went through, and then his language, like Chris said, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
The language here. He's in a whole new realm. He's teaching us things here from another realm. We've got nothing to do to decide about it. We can't, to the point of belief, you can't believe these things.
Yeah.
His own story should tell us that. Paul couldn't believe. Look what Paul believed. And look what it took for him to get turned. The road to Damascus, right? This light that blinds him. Christ himself. He had no choice then that he saw something that he had never, up until that time, was unable to see. So to me, just that story in itself would show that that's humanity. You can't, until the light shines in our hearts, until God gives you a little peace here and there, you're not going to believe it. That's okay. It's okay too. It's just good to recognize those things.
Yeah, it is, and I like how you use that as an example.
It's
what it did for me in an area of my life that can cause a struggle, and cause me to lose my peace. And so it's like resetting, so.
Yeah, you can look at things, and that's what we're saying here to you. We don't know all those things that anybody's going through.
Right.
But you can start, all right, you got a little freedom here to should these things be taking away my peace?
How much should I be giving
How
them
much
weight?
should I be giving this?
Yeah.
And do I get concerned because it seems like everybody around me, that's their concern? All right.
Right. That's
right.
Yeah,
should we be
exactly?
Maybe, if I can help anybody around me is concerned about something, but I need to know why I should be concerned about something if I'm not. What's there again? That gets into what we talked about last week. Whatever we try to project onto everybody else, and I'm as guilty of it probably as anybody. But my concern, you try to project onto everybody else, and then that message of fear is always baked in.
Right, and when someone comes forward and whatever it is, they introduce the idea that you need to be concerned or you need to be afraid of this or whatever. Yeah. When that fear is introduced, let that be a trigger, to maybe I need to see, because we believe God, doesn't give us a spirit of fear. It has to be manifested to us in some way or form, So be a little bit on guard with that talk. The other thing, last thing I'll say is anybody who's interested in that talk that Mike gave, it's very, very powerful, and you can find it on Biblical Resources, and it'll be the Mike Owens story about a tornado, and it is worth watching. Definitely.
All right.
Yep. That's all I have. Have a great week next week. And we'll see you again real soon.
Love you all. We'll see you next time.